I want to welcome all the residents to Piscataway for the month of May. The weather's starting to break. It's getting warmer out. People are starting to rototill their gardens and also plant flowers, and next is the vegetable gardens. But you know what happens in May? The month of honoring our servicemen and women. And I have two very important guests on the show today. I have Colleen Pagano, who heads the Veterans Affairs Committee for our Piscataway American Legion post, and then also her colleague, Dorothy, who happens to be the president of the American Legion Auxiliary, and is also this year's 2025 Grand Marshal of the parade. So I'm having you on because it's Military Appreciation Month for the month of May. There's going to be a lot of things going on here in Piscataway Township, but generally in the state, honoring our men and women who serve in uniform. And maybe, Colleen, maybe you can go a little bit over to start what people can expect for this year's parade. And then we'll jump in about maybe a little bit of the process that's changing for the participants and what folks can expect after the parade is finished with.
Exactly. Well, at the beginning of the parade, of course, we're always going to go and we're going to do our service with you at Possum Town, which is really good. It's a beautiful service. So if everybody can be there 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's very brief. Normally we're in and out there by 9:30 at the latest.
At the very latest, it's 9 o'clock. 9:30 we'll be out. And then at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a service at the American Legion. Where the flags are. So that'll be a really beautiful service there. This year we're definitely going to be honoring our veterans. You know, we honor them every day, that we're there. At exactly 11 o'clock the parade will kick off, and of course there'll be a few things that'll be a little bit of change up on that, and we'll get into that as we go.
So the folks that can participate in the parade, who do they have to contact?
They would have to contact myself. They would contact me. I'm in charge of the parade committee. So I'm the one that puts them down on a list. There are several people that also are involved with it, but I'm the one that gives the absolute end and yes or no. However, that really goes with, who comes in. I welcome everybody. We want everybody in the community to please come and enjoy the parade, enjoy what you're doing, and most likely promise that you're going to honor our veterans. Only there's a few rules that we have this year.
So the veterans that are out there from Piscataway, and they don't necessarily have to be from Piscataway.
Right.
What if they say, well, Colleen, I would like to participate, but however, I'm not physically able to participate, but how can I participate?
There's other ways they can participate. If they want to be in the parade, I can set them up and they can go on either in the back of a trailer, sitting on a chair, or we can get them a vehicle. They can be driven in a vehicle. If another organization wants to participate by doing a float and making it, it's a beautiful thing to try to get out there. And if not in that way they want to participate, come on down to the post. We'll give you something to do. Open up hot dog buns, help us out in that aspect. Pour root beer. We have a birch beer.
There's nothing like on a very hot day getting a nice cold glass of root beer.
Absolutely. So there's all kinds of stuff they can participate in. They can come and help some of the elderly that are outside. Help us set up some chairs outside for some of them.
Well, I do know there's obviously I've been participating for more than 40 years in the parades, but I do know that you typically see a lot of these veterans come out for the parade.
Yes.
Because it's like they're like homing pigeons. They're coming back. They know they're amongst colleagues. They want to have share the camaraderie of their service for our country. And this is a way of Piscataway residents showing and thanking them for their service.
Right.
It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to actually walk the walk.
Right. But their participation also can be just to give them an ear. If a veteran is there, kind of listen to their story. They'll be surprised at what they have to say. And they might even just step back a second and be a little more grateful for every day. Just be a little more grateful for everything that they do. Thank a veteran every chance that you can possibly get. They deserve it.
Good. Now, Dorothy, what is your role as the head of the auxiliary for the Legion, the local Legion post?
On a day-to-day basis, we visit veterans that are like in a VA hospital. We do other fundraising events. We give to local organizations that also support veterans. So we're there as a support vehicle for local veterans in our area. And because there's so many legions, each town has their own auxiliary. We try to keep it, as local as we can, and just give support to them.
Now, I do know I had an opportunity to participate in the welcoming home ceremony at Rutgers for the detachment for, I think it was the 44th Regiment.
44th.
Out of New Jersey, which happened to be the largest deployment in the last 20 years of that regiment overseas. They were serving in both Iraq and in Syria at that time, and they came under fire with with the fall of Assad. They were over there doing that. It was nice to speak to the 5 residents of Piscataway who had served in the Army Reserve over there and stuff like that. And so hopefully we're going to have some of them participate
Yes, I'm
in the
reaching
parade
out
to
to
March. So we're obviously reaching out
Right.
to them if they could spare some time. I know they probably want to be with their loved ones, being away for many months on end. They probably just enjoying being back home,
Yeah.
trying to acclimate themselves
Oh,
back to
I
civilian
would be
life.
so
to-
excited if I could just get them to,
Yeah.
be in there. I'd give them a car.
Yeah.
Put them on a float if so, but I would love to have them. And
Yeah,
it would be
and let the
an honor for
community,
us.
thank them for
Yes.
their service on that day.
Yes,
We all
let
come
them
together.
thank them.
But it was very heartwarming, and we're going to show some clips of that. There was over 1,500 service personnel there on the basketball floor, and with all surrounded by their families and dignitaries, and how the official protocol takes place when a unit returns home to present to the governor. So it was and I was
Very nice.
allowed to participate in accepting the certificate back on behalf of the unit back there. So
Yes.
it was very,
That's very
Yeah.
touching.
what I thought was very interesting during that ceremony is that there was other NATO officers from Albania that actually came up from Washington, D.C., who served with the New Jersey 44th Regiment
They came with.
in Syria while we were there. They came up from Washington to participate in
Wow.
the ceremony, and I had a chance to talk to those the 2 generals
Oh, wow.
and things like that, which I thought was the camaraderie with the NATO troops and things like that. So I thought that was
You
very
learn so much from an
Yeah.
event like that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
But like I said, we're gonna do our best. I commit to you, Dorothy, to you and Colleen, to try to get
Thank you.
those soldiers
Thank
there
you.
to participate.
Yes.
That would be
thank you.
wonderful.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Even if they're not going to be around long enough to have a root beer and a hot dog,
Maybe they'll just come for a root beer and a hot dog, right?
we'll take that.
We'll take that as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, in the past, what type of floats or contingency groups have marched in the parade?
Well, we have the VFW,
Yeah.
the VFW here, the Elks. We have most of the groups that are here. We do have some private organizations that do, like dance studios. We have the high school that dances, that marches. We have the football players, the basketball players, the Little League, the soccer teams. They all
I think the Boy Scouts and
participate.
the Girl
Oh,
Scouts.
the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts for sure. And, they're excited about doing it. The senior citizens, we don't want to forget our senior citizens either.
They love going in the senior citizen bus right there, especially pulling up to get the hot dogs and the root beer.
And would you believe that there are some seniors that even march too still?
Yeah.
In this parade, they will be marching as well, which is really nice.
Well, they're doing it not only to honor the men and women in our uniform, but also to part of the mayor's wellness camp. Because it's about almost a 2-mile march.
That's right. And it is a very good thing,
It
by
is
the way.
nice.
Wellness
Yeah,
is very good for
therapeutic.
all.
Yep.
But is it all right if I add one more thing to
Sure,
you
go
here? Dorothy, with our auxiliary, we just donated funds so that a soldier can receive a dog.
Yes. So
Wow,
there's
that's interesting.
there's an organization that's fully volunteer And every year they donate, they have an event in New Jersey where they donate a service dog to a service member, and they train that dog specifically to be surrendered just to that person. So the dog is trained.
Wow, that is like
Yeah.
a really nice gesture.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
called-
as you
Yeah,
know, I'm a
it-
dog lover.
Yeah, it's
So-
called Rebuilding Warriors is the name of the
Okay.
organization, and like I said, they're fully volunteer. They've been around for 11 years.
Now, the organization that started that, what was the reasoning behind starting that?
So the original person who started the organization was a service member that suffered from PTSD,
Okay.
and he received a dog to help him with his condition, and so that dog pretty much saved his life, because a lot of veterans take their own life. The suicide rate is
You know
fairly
what?
high.
You just brought up a very valid point and things that people don't like to talk about.
Yeah,
But that is factually correct.
yeah. And
Unfortunately, when they come back from
it's
long tours of
silent.
duty,
It's very silent, because
It is
to
the
look at
si-
someone
it's
you
the
will not
silent
know
killer of
that
the
they're
service.
suffering. But these recipients of these dogs, it really changes their life. Yeah.
and you know these dogs, they're just like, they don't just grab them off the street.
No.
They have to
There's a big
be trained
program.
for protocol.
Yes. Yes.
And there's also some servicemen that may have been injured and not capable necessarily
Right.
handling day-to-day operations
Exactly.
in wherever they
Yes.
live.
Yes. So they have different needs. So the dog is
Yeah.
trained specifically for the person who is going to be the recipient of the dog, and they have different breeds, you know. And but they do have specific trainers that they use, and they take these dogs in, and not every dog doesn't make it through the program. They have to be able to,
Right.
you know, provide the service that's
Exactly.
needed.
But there's not a
Yeah.
dry eye in the place when they,
Sounds very nice.
You can't put a
From what
dollar
she says,
figure
I
on
haven't.
something like that.
Yeah.
no.
Because just the amount of time and effort to go in and training the dog in order to knowing that they're going to be living with that individual.
Yeah.
You know, it's very complicated. It's no different, sort of like a CNI dog that's
Exactly.
leading somebody who's
Yeah.
around blind,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, it's just. I think that is a wonderful gesture that group started up right
Right.
there.
Yeah. We've been very supportive of them the last few years.
Vet
So
and
it's
or
just,
adoptive vet. We also have an adoptive
So
vet
basically,
program.
will somebody from the Middlesex County? How does that work? Is it Middlesex
Well,
County as a whole, or is it the state?
They are known nationwide, but they do have an event in New Jersey twice a year, actually. And so our post, we have a few members that put us in touch with them, and so we've been just supporting them because when they come to New Jersey. So
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you know of anybody within the Middlesex County region that actually have applied for the service dog? or-
I don't know exactly, but I could find out, because they did have an event in was it Carteret, I think.
It was Carteret.
Yeah,
I
so
remember
not too
telling
far
me.
away was the last event. This one was actually Neptune, so Ocean County, but I'm sure that there is a possibility. I could get more information for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, just out
Yeah.
of curiosity.
In Middlesex
Yeah.
County, though, as far as we go, we have adoptive vet program. We have veterans that we, adopt that are in our homes, and we take care of them for their birthdays, for Christmas, for every holiday.
Oh, yeah, we go to Menlo Park.
No,
Yeah.
very briefly, the other events that you sponsor throughout the year to help veterans initiatives. You want to talk
That,
a little bit about
the
that?
adoptive vet is one that we sponsor that. Like she said, we do the dog program. We absolutely do that. We also send money to Wounded Warriors. There's different groups that we do, but we make sure that they're replicable. We don't. We take care of everybody that we can. Homeless vets. We try to do what we can. We get a lot of donations from different people, backpacks, certain stuff. Children are our number one concern
Children's
as well.
vets.
Yeah, the children of veterans. Like if they need anything, they can always come and say they need a prom dress or they need something. We'll do anything that we can to help them out. We collect clothing and food.
You know what?
and,
You bring up a very valid point. Is that we speak about the vets a lot of times, the challenges that they may have from coming back home, but it's really not spoken about a lot about the family. It's the family unit itself.
That's right.
Of the impact of
That's
the family
right.
unit.
Right, children.
Especially if there's
Yeah.
young children involved.
Right. Or spouses, either male or female. It's young children are
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, like when I was at the coming home ceremony at the university, that I met one of the soldiers where he had a child was born while he was away.
Oh, that's hard.
Those are
Oh.
things. I mean, years ago you didn't have Skype, you didn't have
Right.
Zoom,
Right.
but I mean, it still doesn't make up for being
Right,
not
it doesn't
being there
replace that,
physically,
that physical, that physical.
But it's a lot better than what it was, say,
Yes.
30 plus years ago.
Yes.
Still,
Serving.
even on
Yeah.
Skype, it still breaks your heart. You know, you don't have a dry eye. Yeah, I can't watch any of them without them coming on, and there I am, teary-eyed.
And there are a lot of programs, but sometimes the veterans don't even know how to access them,
Right.
especially when they're, not active duty anymore,
Well, I know one of the things that we will be speaking about, not necessarily on this show, but in a future show, is talking about the impact of what's going on with the whole Veterans Administration, possibly closing down some clinics, less clinicians, and things like that. That could have broad impacts on the million plus
Yes, absolutely.
veterans nationwide, and not just here in New Jersey, but nationwide. So to bring it up, so that they need to get a little vocal and
Yes.
say, hey, now that was not part of the contract.
That's right. That wasn't
know.
part of the contract, and that's
Yeah.
some place where we can get a little vocal with.
Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about a little bit about the folks that can sign up and contact you,
Yes.
and obviously we're going to have a scroll underneath
Yes.
this as we're speaking about that. We are instituting a little, what we like to say, a code of conduct.
Code of conduct.
For participants, because the last couple of years we've had, and I'll be honest with you, there's been some folks that were obnoxious
Yes.
in the parade, cussing and not abiding by the rules and regs, and
Right.
it was suggested by attorneys that there should be a code of conduct, so if there's a violation this year, that code of conduct, they will not be allowed to participate next year.
Right.
And, it's a shame that we have to go this route.
It is a shame. It's not strong arming, though. I don't want
no.
anybody to think it's strong arming. It's basically because we have an order that we have to do.
Yeah.
And it's ran a certain way as specifics because there is an announcer.
Yeah.
And is that fair for somebody to get out of line and do something wrong?
We had issues about 2 years ago. One of the participants didn't like where they were placed, decided to jump the line. Then the police had to get involved, and it was a whole 3 weeks ago. And then unfortunately, that individual called up and was harassing the two organizers, which was not nice.
Not at all.
Right after the parade.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then we had an issue last year where we had participants mouthing off and making very obscene gestures and things like that. So, which
And that's
which
totally
is
unnecessary
unfortunate.
because this
Yeah.
day is for our veterans.
Veterans.
And I hope that everybody who's listening understands that this is our Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And this is what this parade is all about, is to thank our veterans. That's, our Memorial
That's all it's
Day.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share after the parade's over. Share a hot dog and a root beer with the
Share a
veterans.
hot dog, have a good
Talk,
time,
maybe
be
sit down,
grateful.
speak a couple minutes with the veterans. Say, hey, what was your experience? What can we do for you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what
Colleen
this
works
is about.
all year round for our veterans.
Yeah.
She works relentless.
Yeah, and the American Legion is just not there on Veterans Day weekend to go around and put up flags on deceased veterans.
No.
No.
And
No.
they're there all year round,
All
to,
year
to
round.
to help the living.
Right. And, our
Exactly.
freedom is not free. These people passed and died and
Yeah.
fought for our country for us to be able to walk on here. So let's not fight when we're alive and able to do it. Let's have a good time.
feel really proud because my wife and I, we live across from Resurrection Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And so we see that weekend before that
we
when
put the
they're out
flags
there
up.
with the Boy Scouts
Yes.
helping out and all the other volunteers putting the flags up on all
Rain
the
or shine,
DCs.
we go.
That will be
Rain or
Sunday,
shine,
the Sunday
and seeing
before
all those
Memorial
flags.
Day.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how many veterans are out there until you actually see all the flags
Yes.
on the
We
gravestones.
walk up and down. Yes, we walk
Yeah.
up and down every row to make sure
And,
we
I
don't
know
exclude
my
everyone.
mom and dad are buried down in Hillside in Metuchen. I got to make sure because he served in the National Guard
Yes.
during the Korean War. I got to make sure that he gets. I always put a
Right.
flag up.
My,
on
my
his
dad's World War
grave.
II, so I always
Yeah.
make sure that my dad
Mine as
is
well.
acknowledged.
If you need a marker,
Yeah.
you know where to get
well,
one.
that's what I do.
Yeah.
I actually was just mentioning to my wife a couple of weeks ago that we should get a marker on the gravestone.
I'll make sure you have one.
Because
You
it's
want
a
a
lot
Korea?
easier
You want one that says
for the-
Korea? You'll
For,
have it.
for the folks that,
Yeah.
volunteered today. Because they're just going by what the markers
Right.
are.
Yeah.
Because I have several relatives that served in the military that,
Yep, you
but
need
there
the
is a little
marker.
bit more
Yeah.
pronounced. It says
Yeah.
Navy, right there.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes.
exactly. That's how
Very
we,
proud
we
of
have
their
to look. Yeah,
service.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, we're very, very proud of our heritage with us.
Just out of
Yes.
curiosity, do you know what the folks that are attached to the the local posts? Like, is it predominantly any particular branch of the service?
It's actually all of them, but the Marines always think that they're like the
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're trying to say they're the most vocal?
they're
Yeah.
the most vocal. Yeah,
Yeah. We do have a lot of Marines actually.
we have
at
a lot
our
of
post,
Marines,
yeah.
and then the Navy, because there's the Marine hymn, and then there's in the Navy song,
Yeah.
and
Right. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
we Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have quite a
And
few.
I
of
listened to the Army song when they played that at the Coming Home event.
Oh, beautiful.
I thought it was ironic. It was a Air Force officer singing the Army, which I thought was kind of hysterical. I mean, I don't think that would ever happen in Washington. But,
Yeah. You don't know. You never know, right?
You never
Yeah.
know. Very nice.
So is there any last minute things you want to get out there before we close out this segment?
I just want to make sure that everybody comes to the parade, enjoy themselves. If they're not a participant in the parade, to please just come on out, enjoy yourself, get ready to have a good time, grab a hot dog, grab a soda.
Before we went on air, I had to laugh. I was telling them the last time I remember when it rained like a monsoon, it was back in 2002. I happened to be the Grand Marshal that year. And the funny part was I remember turning around, looking down the entire length of West 7th, and there was like maybe 2 families out on the entire mile stretch
Yes.
with everybody in a parade with buckets of water coming down. And it rained the entire hour during the parade, and then once all the participants finished marching, then the clouds opened up and cleared up for to have hot dogs.
Yeah, we go no matter what the weather.
Yeah,
Service
rain or
members,
shine.
service members have to serve when it rains and when it snows and when the sun's out. So we're gonna reward them.
Well, I appreciate
we're gonna
that.
do that,
Well,
yeah.
Dorothy, just I want to thank you and congratulations on
Thank
being
you.
the Grand
I'm very
Marshal
excited,
this
yeah.
year.
Very proud.
And Colleen, thanks for all the hard work
Oh,
that you and
thank
your
you.
team do at the American Legion Auxiliary stuff
Right.
there.
And just
All right, thanks for having
thank a
us.
veteran anytime.
That's it.
All
Thank
right,
a
well,
veteran.
thank you.
Thank you.
So Nicole Daher, why don't you tell me a little bit about the company that I'm here at, as well as the council members for the ribbon cutting?
Absolutely. So I'm Nicole Daher. I'm the founder of Success on the Spectrum. And in 2015, my daughter was diagnosed with autism, and I founded this company to give children a specialized learning center where they can concentrate. It's very sensory friendly. Each kid gets their own private classroom, and we are one-on-one. And so even though the kids have their individual staterooms where they learn privately with their tutors, they do have group classes to practice the skills they need to transition eventually into a neurotypical
So
school.
I just want to ask a question. It doesn't happen too often, like when a parent just decides, all right, my child has an issue. I want to try to solve the problem. I'm going to go out and start up a company to start the problem. That doesn't happen too often.
It's true. I'm from Texas, and the school system is a little bit lacking in Texas as well. But a lot of autism treatment centers like this only treat up to kids 6 to 7 years old, and then they age out. And my daughter was 7, and there was nowhere for her to go.
yeah.
And there was a problem that no one else could solve for me, so I did it myself.
So there's a gap period.
There's a huge gap. There's a huge
Yeah.
gap. And there's so many kids in New Jersey as well that need this service that don't do well in the typical school classroom because it's too busy, too noisy, and it's distracting
You know,
for them.
I would get that because in a normal classroom, you may have 15 or 20 kids.
Absolutely.
And then you have all the teachers' aides and the actual teachers. And as you said, it could be very busy there.
Yeah, it could
And
be.
distractions can mount very quickly.
It can mount. Some kids are sensitive to overhead lighting, and we can customize everything here because each kid gets their own room.
Wow. This is very unique here. It's at 242 at the Walton Building at 242 Old New Brunswick Road. So if you ever want to stop by, even if you don't have a child that has autism, but you may have somebody who has an extended family with an individual at a household, feel free to stop by and speak with Nicole.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to have you.
All right, I want to welcome everybody here to the formal ribbon cutting of Success on the Spectrum. We're here at 242 Old New Brunswick Road, and we encourage everybody to stop by and see this wonderful attribute that now is going to be calling Piscataway home. And I would like to turn the mic over to the owner here.
Thank you. We just want to, Ravi and I, we just want to thank everyone for being here. This wouldn't have been able to be done without our family, friends, our team behind us, and thank you to everyone.
Yep, thank you to everyone for coming, and we just want to make one change, one kid at a time. And yeah, we really appreciate it. We're just here to make a change. Thank you.
Good. And I want to say I had an opportunity to speak with Nicole before, the founder of Success on the Spectrum. It was a very heartfelt story on how this company was started. And hats off to you, Nicole, right there. And I want to acknowledge we have our council president, Dennis Espinoza, Councilwoman Gabrielle Cahill, Councilwoman Sarah Rashid, and Fourth Ward Councilwoman Michelle Lombardi. So are you going to help out here? Are you going to guide me as the mayor of doing the formal ribbon cutting? Say yes. Yes, all right. Okay. All right, you're going to hold it up, and then we're going to have a countdown. 3, 2, 1. There. Good. Well, listen, I really want to thank everybody for coming out, but I truly believe that this business is going to thrive in Piscataway. It's going to be very unique for not just Piscataway Township, but for the greater Middlesex County here. And welcome to Piscataway. That's all I can say. The home of the first fourth.
2, 3, Piscataway! Piscataway! White Sox! Piscataway! 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 Piscataway!
Yankees! Okay, again, I want to welcome everybody to 2025 opening day at Little League.
Good morning, everybody. It is my great pleasure, pride, and gratitude that we gather here to give thanks to Laura Nagy for the many years of dedication and commitment to Little League and also the Pop Warner cheerleading. Laura, you have given your time, energy, and heart, which has touched so many lives. Your dedication and commitment has been marked by countless hours of hard work, unwavering support, an inspiring example of kindness and generosity. Over the years, you have become more than just a volunteer. You have become a vital part of the fabric that holds this community together. On behalf of all of us here, we want to say a heartfelt thank you. Your service to Little League and Pop Warner cheerleading has been invaluable. Thank you, Laura. We are deeply grateful for everything you've done. Love you. Okay.
Let's give her a really big hand. Okay, I want to send a special thanks out to the fire companies that joined us today. We have Arbor Fire, followed by New Market, North Stelton, and Holmes Marshall. I also want to thank Robert for the field maintenance work he's done up here. Fields look great as usual. And June, I can't forget June. And I want to really thank all the managers and coaches for the time they put in. It's really appreciated. You guys are doing a great job, and we're going to have a great season. T-ball signups are over 190, like I said. We have 130 Little Leaguers and 20 challengers, so we're back in business again, which is great.
I want to thank all of you for coming out here today. Please, players, enjoy this complex. This has got to be one of the best Little League complexes in the state of New Jersey. I hope you have a great season out here, and I look forward for the pizza party, right, Frank? Yes. For the T-ballers, and I'm going to end of July or whatever. June 10th. They already had the pizzas ordered right there. And enjoy all the activities. I want to remind the parents that we will be having a Memorial Day parade on Memorial Day. I know a lot of the players out here are going to be marching in the parade. We hope you do that. And please enjoy, play ball, and enjoy yourselves.
And now we're going to go for the first pitch. Little League, Laura.
Okay, for the T-ball, the mayor's throwing out the first pitch.
Okay, and throwing out the game ball is my American League All-Star, Shane. Go to the mound. Good job. Thank you, everybody.
Elaine, do you want to talk? We're on Stelton Road. Elaine, would you want to speak a little bit about your company?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Today's our grand opening here at the Fairway Town Plaza. This is Club Pilates. It's instructor-led reformer Pilates classes. We have an app. You schedule your classes. And what else?
Come try a free class with us.
Come try a free class. It's right here, right in the middle on Stelton Road. We're here. We also have one in Metuchen and Edison, so it's a community. We've been in Metuchen for 5 years. We just opening here, and then in Edison for 2 years. So everybody here is well experienced. So thank you everyone for coming, and enjoy the party today.
Well, listen, congratulations. Just in a side note, when we envisioned this area coming, we envisioned also a lot of small businesses opening up here to help, take care of the needs of Piscataway residents. And obviously, Elaine, you and your team here opening up will do that. It's part of the mayor's wellness campaign, right, Michelle?
Yeah.
Okay, would you like, now you're going to have the honors here, cutting the ribbon. Remember, this is new. Don't give me a manicure, please. 1, 2, 3. There you go. There we go. There we go.
So hello, I'm Rayan Chibadu. I'm the Chief Youth Officer of the Vrukshadhama Foundation, and truly it's a pleasure to be out here today. I wasn't really expecting these many people, and it's great that they've all come to support our organization. And I want to thank the mayor and the commissioner for being here, giving their time to us. We've been working really hard for this, and really today is just, we're out here to have some fun. So I hope you guys have a great day today.
I also want to just very briefly let you know the historical significance of where we are today in Johnson's Park. This location was where the first 4th of July celebration for the United States took place in our country. General Washington was here with his troops, and they celebrated the first 4th of July. So I think it's ironic that the foundation's here having an Earth Day event and 5K and 2K and 1K walk to celebrate Earth Day on this significant facility right here at Johnson's Park. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I'm assuming everybody's going to burn calories off today, and you're going to be part of the mayor's wellness campaign too. Not only going to clean up the earth, but also part of health and wellness here too. So, and I want to thank all the young volunteers out here because you know what? Dipendra and I we're getting older, and your parents are getting older, and we really need the next generation to step up and help out, and it appears that is going on here with all these young faces here.
1, 2, 3, go! Vrukshadhama!
are lucky to have such a collaborative relationship with the Piscataway Police Department.
This is a great age for thinking about how we develop as people and the impact and choices that we have, not only in our school, but also in our community, goes such a long way.
This evening, you are not just finishing a program, you're stepping up as leaders in your school, in your homes, and in our community.
Most things that I have learned in L.E.A.D that can help me stay drug-free and avoid violence is to surround yourself with friends who don't do drugs. That way, they won't pressure you into having them.
So I want to thank the parents for out there being involved with your kids. We can't do it without you. The faculty can't do it without you. It's really a team effort.
I asked all my fifth graders around week 5, what do you want to be when you grow up? They doctors, police officers, lawyers, anesthesiologists, some things I can't even pronounce. And they all have dreams. And let them know that drugs are dream killers.
All right? You don't need friends that's going to get you in trouble, that's going to get you hooked on using tobacco products and alcohol and all those negative things. All right? Those things are unhealthy for you.
Last time. We will.
Okay, we're down here with Omar's mom. So tell us a little bit about how this event transpired.
Well, I actually called up his school counselor who I've been working with, Nancy Arvizino, and I said I really want to do something for Omar to basically get him a kidney, but also raise awareness for organ donation. So she said, I'll get right on it. So we started working together about a month ago, to be quite honest, and she started getting, media together, and also folks from the NJ Sharing Network. And then I started to work on some other, agenda items for this day of fun. Food, Mr. Softy, other vendors that we have here. His dialysis clinic wanted to come down and take some blood pressures, give out some materials. So it really just turned out to be a day of fun to empower Omar, raise awareness for organ donation, also to have people screened, right? Because the way we found out about his kidney disease was through high blood pressure readings. So really
let me delve into that, because that's something for somebody who's Omar's age that normally doesn't happen.
Absolutely not, right. Yeah. So that was a huge red flag. I actually thought he was having some type of IBS or Crohn's, and took him to urgent care. His blood pressure was super high. They took a urine sample and found a lot of protein in his urine, and here we are. So.
But the good news is that he was diagnosed and he's attempting to get treatment. But what have been some of the challenges about the kidney donation clinic? Is it just you're waiting around?
Well, I think really because he's a pediatric patient and because this happened unexpectedly. We're trying to get him back to, a baseline level of health, really. Unfortunately, the kidney failure has caused his heart to fail. And so they do want that to get a little bit stronger before he can get a transplant. But also, it is difficult to find a match, right? He has a very popular blood type, but your tissue type also has to match as well. You have to go through extensive testing if you want to be a living donor. Obviously, there's an option for a deceased donor, but for someone like Omar, who's very young, living donor would be best, because those kidneys tend to last longer.
I know when one of our former colleagues, Councilman Rouse, ended up having a kidney transplant, but he matched with an immediate relative that was able to do that. And I don't think, and that is a big issue, even though you get a match, because you think about it, somebody they have to give up one of their kidneys.
Yes, you only need one.
Yeah.
You only need one. I've met so many people throughout this journey who have donated kidneys or received a donation or know someone that has. And they've done great. Those who have donated with their one kidney, you're monitored closely. I'm going through the process to see if I'm a match, but it's not a guarantee. So, you know,
that would be wonderful if mom's a match.
Yeah.
What better thing they can give to their child?
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to give it to them in December, but they told me that's not how it works. So, just going through the process.
It's not
now.
for lack of trying on your behalf.
No, not at all. So going through the process now, it is a very lengthy process. So just hoping and praying that I am a match. But, you know.
Well, I want to thank you for coming out and letting us know the rest of the residents of Piscataway, Omar's plight. And we'll put it up online continuously to try to help out, especially going to put it in, because we want to make sure that everybody's healthy in town.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, everybody should get out and enjoy the rest of the day here.
Yeah.
Even though it's a little overcast, but that's okay.
Yeah.
One thing about
under a covered pavilion, so we're good.
Yeah, that's a great thing. So thank you, and I want to thank Councilman Espinoza for being down here also. So that.
On behalf of the leaders and soldiers of the 44th Infantry Brigade Combat Team, thank you for joining us in commemorating their triumphant return home from deployment in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, at long last, please welcome home the Jersey Blues.
Today we gather to honor your service and your sacrifice. Soldiers of the 44th, you answered the call. You shouldered the responsibility, and you carried out your mission in support of Operation Inherent Resolve with courage, discipline, and professionalism. From base defense and command operations across the Middle East to sustainment support and humanitarian assistance. Your actions reflect the highest ideals of our state and nation. It goes without saying, but I must say it clearly. To everyone within the sound of my voice, never forget. Never forget what the 44th Infantry Brigade Combat Team stood for and fought for. You defended the values that defines us as Americans, commitment to one another and dedication to something greater than ourselves. Simply put, you are the best of what this nation has to offer.
We're here with Sergeant Moderano. And Sergeant, tell me what it was like to be deployed. And where were you deployed overseas?
I was deployed in Union 3, Iraq. It was a really good experience, and it was very hot.
Very hot. That's what you'll take that. It was very hot.
It was hot, yes.
Yeah.
It was a good time, though. Great experience. Manned the gates over there, and I was the company medic, so I was in charge of platoon medics and making sure that everybody was physically and mentally ready.
And being abroad, that kind of presents challenges for the service personnel over there, away, trying to keep in touch with their family members, especially if there's a crisis at home and that they can't get to. So, did you come across anything like that, having to deal with?
Personally, no. I mean, we just had like physical injuries more than mental, but we implemented a lot of activities to support service members who were far away. We did a lot of Father's Day things, so they felt included and loved by their loved ones.
Well, thank you, Sergeant. I know you want to get back to your family there. Thank you for the service, and you're welcome for the Memorial Day parade to come to that.
I say to you all, welcome home, and congratulations on a successful deployment. I was so deeply honored to address you before your departure, but it is even more exciting and more humbling to do so upon your successful return. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your service. By volunteering as citizen soldiers, you've done what so few others are willing to do in our nation. Your commitment to country, your deep dedication, your living patriotism, you represent the best of who we are. I'm often reminded what I was taught as a young man and a boy, that we all drink deeply from wells of freedom and liberty that we did not dig, that we owe a debt as Americans that none of us can pay back, so we must pay it forward. What you all have done through your extraordinary service is you all are paying it forward. You all are planting seeds for a harvest in the future of our democracy that should give you such pride.
We're here with another one of our Piscataway residents, Sergeant Perez, who was stationed abroad during the deployment. So, Sergeant, what was it like being stationed abroad?
It was a little challenging. It's my second deployment. So my first deployment was back where Alpha Company, 2nd 113th to Djibouti, Africa in 2019. This is my second deployment. It was nice, a little challenging. It's always tough being away from home.
So what was, just for the folks here in the town, like when you say deployment, like I know there's no specified dates or times, but like in this one, how many days, months was the deployment?
This one was pretty long. We went to Fort Bliss, Texas out in January, did some training out there. We ended up being in Syria around March timeframe, and we didn't leave Syria until December.
So they were in Syria when everything was imploding.
Correct, yes.
which, and, if you've heard from the news, it was very challenging for our armed forces over there because you didn't know who was on what side over there.
Correct, we didn't know. We just had to make sure everyone we came over there with, we got them back home safe.
What was very interesting, this was the largest deployment in the history of the state of New Jersey right there, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, this one definitely was at a larger scale. It was actually very surprising to me as well.
Well, listen, Sergeant, thank you for your service. I appreciate you, and welcome home back to Piscataway.
Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, good.
It is my distinct honor to say welcome home to the roughly 1,500 members of the 44th Infantry Brigade combat team. To each and every one of you brigade soldiers, God bless you and thank you for your service. And thank you, of course, to all of your family members and friends and loved ones who are also with us here today. I know that over the past 15 months, every single one of you, along, I might add, with every member of our extended New Jersey family, have been hoping and praying for your safe return to the Garden State. And I could not be more grateful that each one of you, with the 44th IBCT, has made it home safely and in one piece. Over the course of your deployment, which was, by the way, the New Jersey National Guard's largest deployment in over 15 years and one of its largest ever, you served our state and our nation with honor and distinction. In supporting Operation Inherent Resolve, you led our allies in combating the threat of ISIS, from providing base command to offering sustainment support in locations throughout Iraq and Syria. You maintained the freedom of movement for our coalition partners, and in the process you helped ensure the enduring defeat of the terrorists who have wreaked havoc across the Middle East.
We're here with Specialist Rojas, a Piscataway resident and a Piscataway High grad. So Specialist, what was it like serving over there in the Middle East?
It was a lot of fun, I will say that. The base we were at, it was more like you had to do everything, like try to make it fun yourself. So the people I was with, I'm part of artillery, so the people that I was in the group with, we try to do our best and try to like compensate for all the, I mean, we did get attacked twice, but like
now, what area were you in, Syria or Iraq?
Iraq.
Iraq, okay.
Yeah, we try to make like the best of it, and we would have like parties, or like we would just listen to music and try to make.
Well, I can understand when you're being like 8,000 miles away from home, and you're not around to be at special events of family members, so you have to improvise, you and your colleagues.
Yeah, that was the hardest part, I think, being away from family and seeing everything over the phone, and just living through a cell phone was the hardest part, seeing everybody grow up.
And you really begin to wonder, now in the 21st century, the soldiers have actually mobile devices that they can keep in touch with their families. But think about it, going back 25, 30 years ago, they didn't have that availability to do that.
Yeah, I think it was more difficult back in the days because everything was by mail. But now, like, we have care packages, which was really helpful that families sent. Even if it was just like from different families would literally send like packages of just the randomest things, maybe paper towels, toilet paper, tissues, or just like snacks. So I feel like that was also very helpful because everybody was helping each other out. It wasn't just like my family only sends it for me. It was like, hey, make sure you share this with everybody around you.
Well, now you heard it. So Specialist Rojas said that when they send these care packages over, they actually get to be used.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that, you want to say a shout out to some of your fellow Piscataway High grads?
I don't really talk to anyone. But shout out to class of 2022.
Now, there you have it, from the class of 2022. Thank you, Specialist.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Mayor.
And thank you. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Brattel and Command Sergeant Major Gaines will return the state and national colors to Mayor Brian Wahler and Command Sergeant Major Leonard. The colors were carried to Task Force Nyala, headquartered at Erbil Air Base, EAB, Iraq. On behalf of the 250th Brigade Support Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Brattel and Command Sergeant Major Gaines will accept the State Distinguished Service Medal and State Global War on Terrorism Medal.
We're here with Piscataway resident Captain Jorge. Was one of the officers on board. What was like commanding the fellow personnel over in Iraq and in Syria?
You know, it's different for me because the first time I went to Iraq was about 20 years ago when I was one of the soldiers, like the ones you just interviewed. So I was a specialist. 20 years later, yeah, I am a captain now. And for me, I think it was a big sense of responsibility. You know, I remember what it felt like to have good leaders back then and what it felt like to have leaders that maybe had some more to learn. But that's the nature of our organization. We're really big and not everybody's perfect. So I held myself to a pretty high standard. I wanted to take care of my soldiers, and I learned a lot. And it was a very eye-opening experience to go from being a cog in the bottom that just does what he's told to being responsible for taking care of those soldiers and making sure they have the right leadership and mentorship. And as you know, our soldiers come from our communities, and our communities are mixed with soldiers who are at all ranges of the spectrum. You know, financially affluent, maybe not so financially affluent, educated, not educated. So some of our soldiers are ready to go on day one, and some of our soldiers needed a little more support, and that's what we tried to support. You know, we tried to take care of them.
Well, the Army's near and dear to me because my late father-in-law was a sergeant in the Army National Guard here based in Camp Kilmer. So the Army was sort of a way of life in the Wahler household growing up. So any last-minute words you want to say to your fellow residents of Piscataway?
We appreciate the support from everybody. We had a food drive, a snack drive through the school system. My wife works for the Piscataway schools, and that was really nice to know that people back home were thinking about us and provide us that type of support. So we really appreciate everybody's support, and we're happy to be home.
Yeah. And we're going to wrap it up there, and that was the key. They're happy to be home.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your service, Captain.
Thank you.
Good.